Snowden is trying to make his way from Russia to Cuba and then to Ecuador for political...
Straight from Havana, Cuba. Hey, that is style, man.
Lance Corporal, on the night of August 2nd, did you fire a shot across the fence line into Cuba?
So, how do we say Cuba in America?
Talking about sending you to Cuba.
The Russians have sent their warheads to Cuba.
Соединенные Штаты направили свои военные корабли к Кубе.
They had a shooting range, a lot of tropical territory, you know, like you got in Cuba. The whole idea was they were going to train these Cuban exiles, you know, for another invasion of Cuba.
They're scheduled to have a hearing down in Cuba this afternoon at 1600.
They were together in Cuba the day of the crisis in '62.
The beach, Cuba, that whole time. It was so long ago.
Tensions mount as the Soviet missile ship nears Cuba.
The Cuba thing, yeah, so Dawson and Downey, right.
Standard operating procedure, Rifle Security Company, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
See you when I get back from Cuba.
He refused to invade Cuba in 1962.
Privately claims the CIA lied to him and tried to manipulate him into ordering an all-out American invasion of Cuba.
He is either a Marxist dupe of Russia and Cuba or the most popular leader of a most popular democratic revolution.
Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Cuba, the Amistad. Now,
fought on the American side of the Bay of Pigs in Cuba.
He used to be my paymaster when I flew missions into Cuba.
Talking about the Russians in Cuba again.
Moraine is leaving for Cuba on Monday.
He's in another world. Cuba, 40 years ago. Or some fight he saw in 1953.
He inherits a secret war against the communist Castro dictatorship in Cuba, a war run by the CIA and angry Cuban exiles.
He ain't never been to Cuba.
I'm not sure if they do kill faggots down in Cuba, Dixon.
I don't know, Brazil, Cuba. I like Veradero Beach.
In Cuba.
Yeah. It could be blamed on Castro. The whole country will want to invade Cuba.
Now, in 1898, Spain owned Cuba.
I'm writing to inform you of my problems with my unit here in Cuba and to ask for your help.
If the court awards them to Spain, they'll be taken to Cuba and executed.
In Cuba, the torturers used to have a device, two thin metal spikes placed here.
Si ellos nos cogen, nos harán volver a Cuba.
There's a man using the name Oswald to buy trucks for the Friends of Democratic Cuba.
Я слышал, Куба прекрасно в это время года.
I'm going to Cuba with you tomorrow. In Cuba, why did you ask Jessup for the transporter?
What does it matter?
Why?
Irish, have you ever had a Cuba Libre or a caipirinha?
I mean, if Oswald or someone purporting to be Oswald had gotten into Cuba, come back, then killed the president.
In Washington, rumors abound that JFK has cut a secret deal with Russian Premier Khrushchev not to invade Cuba.
I signed him the morning you arrived in Cuba, 5 days after Santiago died.
I think he's made some mistakes regarding Cuba.
I'm Tony Montana, a political prisoner from Cuba.
It can't be that bad, you know. It's not like Cuba, you know.
Hey, what?
You're kissing a Cuban.
Learning about Cuba, having some...
Kennedy had just put a trade embargo on Cuba, ostensibly halting the shipment of Cuban-manufactured Sansa-Belt slacks.
Last year, I covered the war in Cuba.
Lem said that the chiefs still think we ought to go into Cuba.
You can't light a cigar in Cuba without us seeing it.
I know it's there.
Like Cuba.
A lot of black folks in Cuba. You wouldn't know that from being here, though.
Mommy, come on, I could have gone to Cuba and back.
Maybe I should take care of the transportation for our trip to Cuba.
Lived in Cuba in '63.
That's the Fair Play for Cuba Committee.
Understand we had some trouble over the weekend down in Cuba?
Guess who's on the Articles of Incorporation of the Friends for Democratic Cuba?
Who?
Guy Bannister.
But each country is different and imposes different conditions. Unlike, say, Cuba, in Austria's case, there's a treaty, so there's no dispute as to what type of law could apply.
Bullshit. In New York, in Cuba, in Florida.
Cuba. Cuba's an island.
No. I think you should go to your apartment first.
Cuba. Cuba, thank you.
Cuba! You can escape privately without distraction.
What if Cuba hit the beard or what?
Cuba.
And on the stage right now, we got Carmen, all the way from Cuba.
Angela, who's probably not from Cuba. Listen.
Corporal Jeffrey Owen Barnes, Marine Barracks Windward, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Crossing the embargo line that surrounds Cuba as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
Cuba owned by a disorganized parliament over 4,000 miles away.
I'm from Cuba.
But the Warren Commission says that Sylvia has bad eyesight because they have Oswald in Mexico at this time trying to get back into Cuba.
Tomorrow and on Wednesday at 0600, you'll catch transport down to Cuba for the day to find out what you can.
Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, Commanding Officer, Marine Ground Forces, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Come on! Wait! He's in Cuba. Havana. No.
But if you're a Marine, assigned to Rifle Security Company Windward, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and you're given an order, you follow it or you pack your bags.
Cuba. And then he puts missiles into Cuba.
After what happened in Cuba?
Nobody likes the whites. But we're going to Cuba.
Our plans are changed. We are going to live in Cuba for a few months.
Oh, wow. Cuba Libre would be great.
2 Cuba Libres.
Saying if we didn't go into Cuba, which is so close, why should we go into Vietnam, which is so far away?
Oswald, Ruby, Cuba, the mafia. Keeps them guessing like some kind of polygon.
Absolutely nothing to do with your insertion into Cuba, if you catch my drift.
No plans to invade Cuba while you're in the neighborhood? Now, Cuba, is this your home? I don't think so.
Now these come all the way from Havana, Cuba.
No, he thinks you are Cuban. Who thinks you?
No, where I go, I'm gonna have to go a lot farther than Cuba.
Which way is Cuba?
President Kennedy has signed a formal proclamation setting up a blockade of all missiles bound for Cuba.
Bill, no, what do they do to faggots down in Cuba, Dixon?
Read the letters. I'll expect a report when you return from
During the second occupation of Cuba, Private Saunders, he used to shovel mules.
Were you ever in the Free Cuba movement or whatever?
This time in Cuba.
The flight to Cuba, was that 0600 in the morning, sir?
What kind of work you do in Cuba, Tony?
You know.
Back. Where were you born?
Cuba.
Cuba.
Well, the Coast Guard says she was on a routine smuggling prevention patrol off the Keys near Cuba the last time they made radio contact.
You know what they do to faggots down in Cuba, Welby?
Why don't you take them all the way to CUBA?
Everybody hold your positions.
And where, Cuba?
Well, after you left me on the beach in Cuba...
On the phone, we're surrendering our position in Cuba.